Welcome to Stuck, Time to Improv. I'm Mary Scott with BusinessRiff, and I want startups to be wildly successful. Before you get to revenue, you have to go through sales, and we're going to be talking about sales today with Damon Grewal from logisticssales.com. Thanks so much for coming, Damon.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mary. I think we kind of align on the same mission of having startups succeed and also giving people opportunities to have startups. I think that's another big one as well.
That's a big one as well. So let's dive right in. And what are some of the misconceptions that people have about sales?
Oh, that's one of the first misconceptions is that we see this Wolf of Wall Street type of sales mentality that's out there on social media or portrayed in movies and films. And it's never a good connotation when we hear about sales, right? So one thing that we want to tell people or show people is that, sales is just simple customer service, or sales can be simply posting something off of our phone on social media. Like there's so many ways to do sales nowadays, whether it's copywriting, something that you could do on a computer, email, or it could be visual. There's so many of these ways that we can actually communicate with each other that it's whatever fits you, and if it's an opportunity that you want to try. So we want to expose people to that side of it, and not the Wolf of Wall Street type of sales. But again, how do you do it in a way where it's heartfelt, and you're doing it in service? And so that's a big part of what we want to teach is the good business ethics. How do you do it in service where you're actually finding a solution for a need? And again, just trying to connect with people in a relationship basis, not in a taking type of basis where typically salespeople get associated to is like they're always on the take. But it's like, well, how do we help people, right? This is really what we want to do.
Right. We want to help people solve problems so they can do better, get on with their lives, whatever it is they need to do. Is
For
there a
sure.
difference between selling products and selling services?
The principles are the same. It's saying, okay, well, how can we help somebody, whether that's through a product form or whether that's through a service? And so what we try to talk about is a lot of it is just the mindset of it. What is our intention? How are we putting that intention forward when it comes to doing a product or even a service? And so a lot of times we're teaching the students as well as entrepreneurs how to work together to create win-win situations. And it's not necessarily just focusing strictly on a product or a service, but to say, okay, how do I understand the other person? How do I understand my consumer? And so the mindset there has to be the same because we're looking to serve both of those groups. You want to feel good about what you're doing and you want to be in alignment with yourself. So, um, again, we don't get too much into specific products or services, but we try to work on the inner side first to let that come out.
So you get people to understand they need to be in a what can I do for you kind of mindset, right? Rather than what can you do for me?
For sure. And that starts with the alignment. What are you being attracted to? And then we say, okay, what's aligning with you? How do you start taking a look around you to see where these opportunities even exist? And so that alignment is checking out what skill sets you have currently. What do you want to do versus what people tell you to do, right? And just saying, okay, if it's an alignment, then I can feel really good about what I do. And it's no longer a job; it's something that's again aligned with you. That's going to follow your natural skills that you already have.
Okay. Are there questions that you should ask your potential customers? Are there particular kinds of questions that you should ask?
It's just getting to know them, finding out what their true meaning is when they say something. Like, for example, I was talking to somebody yesterday and we kind of go through some of these job interview questions. And so if you're in a situation where you're asking an employer for a job and they say, okay, maybe you're overqualified. Well, so what we're listening for is objections and then trying to find out, okay, well, what do they really mean by that? So if they say I'm overqualified, are they trying to understand whether they can't afford my salary, or are they trying to say that I'm overqualified, that I might be too good for the position, but maybe I want to do that position? So it's understanding, okay, what are they really getting at when they say that? Like you hear things, but it's that listening component of being able to ask those questions, understanding that these objections are just really opportunities to actually open up the conversation. And so when we're doing sales, that's a lot of the questions that we get people to ask is just clarifying questions on what they actually mean, so we could find the right solution that can, pair up with it, or expose them to another way of thinking about things so that they can see it as a solution and an opportunity for themselves. But it's creating those strategies. So that's what we try to teach too. That is when people say that, it's like, how can we create a strategy? Maybe we're not doing it necessarily for the money at that moment, and we can create a structure in place where it's not going to, we're going to reduce the risk on their side and say, okay, well, what's the worry behind having somebody too old in that position?
Sales is really about relationships, and there are one-off sales, there are continuing sales, there are different markets for the same product, and you may approach things differently. So startups need to have different pitches, right? They need to be able to ask different kinds of questions and be able to provide information about how they do what they do or how they solve a problem. You describe it differently to different audiences.
Yeah, so we try to get clarity on the client profile, is what we call that. And when people can understand who their avatars are of who they're selling to, then you can start creating pitches for that. And it's okay not to have it right in the beginning, but a lot of it's just listening to what that feedback is, because sales will change over time too. And that's the thing too. Sometimes, back in the day, making phone calls to people was okay. Nowadays, a little bit tougher because there's so many spam calls that go around. And so trying to find out different ways to communicate, it will change throughout the ages. One thing that works today may not work, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Again, there's no more phone directories that we see and payphone booths. But so we realize that things are changing all the time, and a different way to change the messaging as we move along is, making it more fresher, right? Making it something more relatable. And it's that human component always is what's going to trump any sort of sales process, is just that connection piece.
And one of the notes I make in my CRM is whether people prefer to be contacted through email or through text or through actual phone calls or through their website.
The better we get at listening, people think a lot of sales is just speaking, but majority of it is being able to listen and to comprehend and then really understand. And that's smart. I mean, that's a smart way to do business, is when you could really listen to, what are they saying and how do they want to be followed up with, and
Yeah, and every so often you really just have to say, I'm sorry, I don't think I can make you happy.
yeah, 100%,
Because
100%.
getting a firm no saves you all kinds of time and energy and emotional investment, right?
Oh, for sure. And we also teach that in the client profile section of one of our episodes, where it's, you want to start highlighting what that ideal client looks like. How are they communicating with you? Do they value, is it price that they value? Is it service that they value? What are these, key items that they're looking for? And what type of relationship do you want to build? Especially if we're looking at long-term sales, bigger ticket items. You want to have a relationship there too, where you can feel good about talking to that person over and over and over again. And some relationships that we have in sales are like 20 years plus now. And that's a lot of time to spend with somebody. They become a second family, especially if you have a repetitive customer that's working with you for a longer period of time. And you want to feel good about having that relationship. And who you choose becomes important, because this is going to matter whether you get stressed out or you can have a good time doing this. So it's important, the more clear you are with who you want to work with. And again, sometimes it does take that no, right? For you to really be able to say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to get desperate here. There's 8 billion people in the world. Let me just keep moving on.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Damon Grewal from logisticsales.com. We'll put information into comments so people can get in touch with you later on. And I'm Mary Scott with Business Riff. I want startups to be wildly successful. And one of the best things you can do to accomplish that is book a call with me at businessriff.com. And join us again next time for Stuck, Time to Improv.